After taking a year off, Apple has finally decided to upgrade the Apple Watch Ultra with a bigger screen and new display tech. However, these upgrades also came to the Apple Watch Series 10, which now got updated to the Series 11. So now with both watches getting a fresh update and available to order, should you buy the ultimate smartwatch with the Apple Watch Ultra 3, or should you save some wrist space and some money by going for an Apple Watch Series 11? And don't be fooled, because not everything Apple said that were upgrades are actually upgrades, and they also gave some misleading information about one very important spec. Now yes, I am making this video in advance because these Apple Watches are available to order on Apple's website right now. In full disclosure, I do not have the new Apple Watches. This is the Apple Watch Series 10 and the Ultra 2, but they look very similar, don't they? Because Apple basically kept the same design for the Series 11, and the Ultra 3 does have a slightly bigger display, but it's very slight, as you'll find out in just a moment. And the user experience is almost the same because they're basically using the same exact chip on the old models as they are on the new models. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what the real differences here are, and honestly, I've been wearing these for so long, I think I can tell you the use cases for each watch and how they differ from each other. How do they differ? Well, the first is design, and this is the most important part of the video, so pay attention, because the Series 11 and the Apple Watch Ultra 3 have two very different designs. First of all, you can get the Series 11 in aluminum or titanium casing options. The aluminum version comes in space gray, silver, rose gold, or jet black, and you can get it for as low as $400, while the titanium casing costs an additional $300 and comes in natural, gold, or slate. The Ultra 3 is a little easier with its options because it only comes in titanium, and it only comes in two colors, natural titanium or black titanium. Now, the Series 11 has two sizing options. You can get the 46mm or 42mm, and that allows you to get a smaller watch size, whereas with the Ultra, you are stuck with the bigger 49mm casing. And the Series 11 is just a thinner watch overall, and it is extremely comfortable to wear all day. It easily slips under long sleeve shirts and dress shirts, and when I'm wearing it, it really feels like nothing's there. The Ultra, on the other hand, is Apple's thickest and biggest watch. I wouldn't describe the fit as uncomfortable. As you may notice, I regularly switch between wearing an Ultra 2 and Series 10, so I can say it's not uncomfortable, but you definitely notice its presence more than the Series 10 or now the Series 11. And I think the biggest nuisance when wearing it, at least for me with the size, is sometimes it kind of gets caught on like longer sleeve shirts, especially dress shirts. So that's one area where the thicker size is a real negative for me. Now, one of the touted upgrades this year is the reduced bezels on the Ultra 3, giving it a larger display. However, don't be fooled by this display upgrade because it's not as big as you think. It's only about a 5% difference in display area. And with the case size labeling on the Ultra 3 as being 49mm compared to the 11's 46mm, you might assume the Ultra display is much bigger, but this is a common misconception. If you look at the actual display area, you'll see that they are very close in size. In fact, the 46mm Series 10 and now 11 actually had a bigger display area than the Ultra 2, and the Ultra 3 only has a 2% bigger display than the 11. Now, even though the screen sizes are close, that does not stop Apple from shipping some exclusive watch faces on the Ultra 3. These include Modular Ultra, Wayfinder, and the new Waypoint watch face. These watch faces are usually more information dense and allow for adding a lot of widgets and have just some pretty cool and unique designs. And I gotta be honest, the modular watch face on the Ultra is my favorite watch face of all time, and it is a shame that it is not available on the Series 11. Now, another upgrade the Ultra 3 display got is that it now matches the Series 11 and the Series 10, getting the same LTPO3 display, which can now refresh faster, allowing you to see the seconds hand tick on digital and analog watch faces, as well as the display being brighter when viewed from an angle. One important thing to note here is that the Ultra 3 still has an advantage of having a brighter display. It is 3000 nits versus the 2000 nits on the S11, although in real world usage, you'll really only notice this outdoors on sunnier days. Now, the thicker and bigger case design of the Ultra 3 allows it a few other advantages, like having a dedicated action button, which you can map quick commands like quickly activating the stopwatch, turning on the flashlight, starting workouts, and other Apple Watch features. The Ultra 3 design is also more durable from falls and drops, and by default, it does come with a sapphire display, which is more scratch resistant than the glass on the Series 11 display. The Ultra 3 also has increased water resistance up to 100 meters versus the Series 11's 50 meters, and the depth gauge can also go to 40 meters versus the Series 11's 6 meters. Apple says this allows the Ultra to be used for scuba diving and high-speed water sports, and the Ultra 3 also includes a more accurate precision dual-frequency GPS, which updates the map more accurately when doing outdoor workouts. And by far, the biggest feature you get with the Ultra's thicker design is an increase in battery life. On the Ultra 3, it is really impressive. It now gets up to 42 hours of battery life, an upgrade of 6 hours over the Ultra 2. The Ultra 3 also gets an upgraded fast charging system. So for 15 minutes of charging, you get 12 hours of use. For 45 minutes of charging, you can get to 80%, or 5 minutes of charging allows for 8 hours of sleep tracking. However, the Series 11, despite its slimmer design, also gets a battery life rating of now 24 hours, the same 6-hour boost from its previous version, and it too gets faster charging speeds. 30 minutes of charging will get you to 80%, 50 minutes will get you 8 hours of normal use, and 5 minutes will get you those 8 hours of sleep tracking. However, let me stress something very, very important, because Apple may actually be trying to pull a fast one on us with the Ultra 3 and Series 11 battery life ratings. Like the title, don't be fooled, it actually makes sense now. Now, you can't actually get mad at me for using it because you might actually be fooled. Aha, 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 I win, I win, I win. All right, seriously, some users on MacRumors have found out that Apple has changed their testing methodology for the Apple Watch battery life ratings to now include sleep tracking. And guess what that sleep tracking is rated for? 6 hours, which is strangely the same 6-hour boost that the Ultra 3 and Series 11 receive to their battery life rating. Now, if you don't know, sleep tracking uses a lot less energy than when you're actually using the Apple Watch. And get ready, because I'm going to go full conspiracy theory, because I've done some digging and looking at the tech specs, and even though the Series 11 is actually 1.4 grams heavier than the Series 10, where does that additional weight come from? Yes, as pointed out by MacRumors, the Series 10 has around a 7 to 10% increase in battery life. Now, I did the same thing for the Ultra 3, and it's only 0.2 grams heavier than the Ultra 2. But according to that same safety document provided by MacRumors, it receives around a 6% battery size increase if we're being generous. But viewer, that again raises another red flag. The Ultra 3's low power mode rating, which has not gained any additional battery life over the previous model. Whereas the Series 11, with its bigger battery jump this year, has gained an additional 2 hours in low power mode. And I think that is the whole story for real world usage. I do not believe the Ultra 3 has received any notable battery gains. But for the Series 10, based on the low power rating generally being about double the battery of normal usage, at least in the previous ratings that they did for the battery life, I assume you'd probably see closer to like a 1 hour jump in real world usage without the sleep tracking feature. Which, if I'm right, is a major disappointment, because I was really excited about that higher 24-hour battery life rating on the Series 11. But again, considering sleep tracking uses such little energy, it kind of makes sense where they got such a big battery boost from without really giving us that much more battery capacity. Now, at the end of the day, the Series 11 should easily get you through a full day of real-world usage, so this rating really doesn't matter too much, and the Ultra 3 can still easily get you through 2, maybe even 3 days of usage, depending on how you use your watch. So at the end, not a big deal, but also maybe like slightly misleading, considering we were used to the old 18-hour ratings. Like, and if you look at the Apple Watch SE on Apple's website, the cheaper model, it's still using that 18-hour rating, which I think should be updated to 24 hours based on their new methodology. Speaking of non-upgrades, I think the two biggest upgrades to these watches this year was the new health features. This would be the ability to detect hypertension or high blood pressure, and the new sleep score feature, which gives you a more detailed analysis of your sleep tracking and provides a overall score for your sleep quality. And yes, I'm not being pessimistic. Those are nice features, maybe a reason even to upgrade. But the reason I call them non-upgrades is because, well, they're actually available on older Apple Watch models. The hypertension feature is available on models from the Series 9 to the Series 10 and now the 11, as well as the old Apple Watch Ultra 2. The sleep score feature goes back even further and can be used on Apple Watches as old as the Series 6 and even the second generation SE. Now yes, the Series 11 and Ultra 3 do get an upgrade, but again, it's not that big. So the biggest upgrade you could say the Series 11 gets is the 5G cellular service. Apple says this will allow you to download apps, music, and podcasts faster on your watch, which, okay, cool. But that's not really a use case scenario I use all that often, if ever. And, you know, the 5G modem, they say, does improve the antenna architecture on the Series 11 and Ultra 3, and ultimately will provide better coverage in areas with weaker cell reception. So that is a good thing. However, I mean, if you don't use the cellular feature on your Apple Watch, this 5G upgrade is basically worthless. And if you account for the more, and I'll say suspected, because again, no one has these devices yet, lackluster battery upgrade, the only real upgrade from the Series 11 to the Series 10 on the non-cellular version is that the aluminum model now gets upgraded like glass that is 2 times more scratch resistant. But then again, if you were buying the titanium version, you aren't getting that upgrade because it already uses sapphire crystal, which is more resistant to scratches than that new glass. Now, to be fair to the Ultra 3, this one does get more upgrades over the Series 11, and it does get a cool feature, satellite connectivity. This one allows you to send messages or even get emergency SOS services in areas without cellular coverage. And honestly, on a watch that is designed and marketed as being used outdoors in extreme environments and off the grid, I gotta say, that is a really nice feature to have that hopefully you will never need to use. But I can already see the next Apple keynote where this feature alone is probably going to save someone's life. Maybe it's gonna be even someone that watched this video. And then you're gonna come back and be like, Greg, thank you for telling me about that satellite feature. You saved my life. You are a hero. And to that, I will say, no, good sir, I am not a hero. I'm just a man doing my job, informing you about Apple Watches. So yes, overall, these are small Apple Watch updates, especially the Series 11, which you can kind of think of as a Series 10 with 5G. So which one should you get? Well, if you're dead set on getting the Series 11 or an Ultra 3, and you don't want my next recommendation, it all comes down to personal preference and lifestyle. One watch isn't outright better than the other, and each model comes with its own pros and cons. Get the Series 11. Number one, if you want to spend less money on the watch itself, if you're getting an aluminum version, it starts at $400, and even the titanium versions are still $100 less than the Apple Watch Ultra. It is the better watch if you want something less obtrusive on your wrist and a watch with a smaller profile. I also think the titanium version of the Series 11 is easier to dress up if you have a nice band for it. And I think it can look just as good as a traditional watch. The Ultra 3 is a watch you want to get if you want a watch you don't have to charge every day, you really enjoy the exclusive watch faces, or if you like the design or look of a bigger, chunkier watch. It also does come with more accurate, precision, dual-frequency GPS tracking, which can provide better stats for outdoor workouts. It has that new satellite feature that could make sense if you are someone that is constantly exploring off the grid. It does have higher durability, and it is rated for more extreme water activities. And hey, it looks pretty good if you're just laying on the couch all day too. However, here's something you don't hear me usually say. Maybe you shouldn't get either of these watches. Both of them are small upgrades. The Ultra 3 has more going for it with the upgraded display and satellite connectivity, but still, I think another option for everyone is to maybe, just maybe, consider getting an older Apple Watch Series 10 or an Apple Watch Ultra 2 off a third-party site like Amazon. Right now, as of the making of this video, the Series 10 is currently $359 on Amazon, and the Ultra 2 is $699. And considering both of these watches get watchOS 26, they get the new health features, And despite the fact that the Ultra 3 says it has an S9 chip, it is actually the same processing power as the S10 chip. So all of these watches, from the S10 to the S11 to the Ultra 2 to the Ultra 3, will perform exactly the same. So I will leave links in the description below for you to ultimately make up your mind. And if those are still too expensive for you, well, check out the new Apple Watch SE, which now gets an always-on display, the same S10 chip, so it's just as powerful, and some other stuff too, right? You can find out more about that Apple Watch SE in this video up here. All right, I really hope this video helped you out in learning about the Apple Watch Series 11 and the Apple Watch Ultra 3. And I really hope it was helpful and informative in your buying process as I tried to really narrow down the real differences this year. If it did help, show your appreciation by giving this video a like, sub for more, I got hair in my eyes, and leave a comment down below. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Unless you're sick of me at this point, because there's been a lot of videos, and I get it. You could take a break. I could use a break for myself right now, to be honest. Oh yeah.